Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to edition 55 of Food Safety Fridays webinar program. I'm terribly sorry we're actually 15 minutes late. Gremlins, as usual. Well, not as usual, scuppered us today, but we've got here, so sorry for the delay. Today's webinar is brought to you by Ruth Bell, Senior Consultant at AF Consultants, and the title is Trending Root Cause Analysis for Continual Improvement. Obviously, you've got to do root cause analysis, it's very important, but also what do you do with the results of those to use them effectively. Okay, so we'll go over to Ruth in a minute. Just to say, today's webinar is being recorded. Shortly afterwards, within a couple of hours, either recording the slides, and if you don't get the certificate today, we'll send you that as well. So don't worry if you miss a little bit of it or you have to leave early or something like that. I'll get called away to a product recall or something like that. Then don't worry, it's all recorded and you'll get it later. I'd like to thank Trace Analytics, FSSC 22000, Metal of Toledo, and Safe Food 360, who sponsor this Food Safety Fridays webinar program for 2016 and help to bring these webinars free of charge to you, and you get some education and a free certificate. So without further ado, I'll welcome Ruth. Hello, Ruth. How are you doing?
Hello, Simon. I'm good, thank you. It's not quite such a sunny afternoon here as it was yesterday.
No, but you're radiated quite a lot of redness and warmth there. It's been quite stressful, hasn't it, the last 20 minutes, but eventually we've got there. So what I'll do is I'll just talk to the audience about the upcoming things we've got going while you get your presentation ready, Ruth, if that's okay. I'll see you in a minute. Okay. Next week, we do not have a Food Safety Fridays webinar. The next one is in 2 weeks' time, and that will be assessing suppliers through routine and non-routine audits with Vladimir Sachinsky, who's presented before very well. So that's assessing suppliers through routine and non-routine audits on the 2nd of September. We've also got Food Safety Live, our annual full-day conference on the 14th of September. So it's a full day of back-to-back webinars, PowerPoint. So we've got 10 different speakers on that day, doing a range of different subjects. There'll be a PowerPoint, Q&A, and you'll get a certificate, actually, a training certificate for each one of the 10. So 10 certificates. And that's a full day. So if you head over to the IFSQM website, you will see the details of that and you can register for that. So that's on the 14th of September. That's Food Safety Live 2016. Okay. I've got to put the PowerPoint slides up. That's right, isn't it, Ruth? We're doing something slightly different today. One of the problems was Ruth couldn't share her slides, yes. So I'm going to have to do that. So let me just get the slides up, and I'll see if I can do that. Just bear with me. It will be well worth it, ladies and gentlemen, this. Believe me. So, let's see. Can you all see that? Hopefully you can. Can you see it, Ruth?
I can see it, yes.
Right. I can see it. So, I'm going to transition the slides and Ruth's going to do the audio. So, when you hit me on the head, Ruth, I'll transition the slides. So, without further ado, off you go, Ruth.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome along to this webinar about trending root cause analysis. And as Simon's already said, many of us are conducting root cause analysis, but really it's just taking it that little bit further and starting to think about the information that comes out of some of the analyses that we do, and possibly looking at that and trending it. Again, it's this idea of continual improvement and how can we have a preventative approach and stop things from happening in the future. So that's really the focus of today's webinar. So if you'd like to move on to the next slide. I work in the food industry. I've worked in the food industry for the last 29 years, which is particularly frightening because I still think I'm about 22. But my particular specialisms are helping businesses to develop their quality and food safety management systems based around the various different customer standards and third-party standards that we have. I also offer technical and legal support to businesses to help them comply with legal requirements and due diligence. And for my sins, for some of my time, I act as a third-party auditor. So that's a little bit about me. And on the next slide, I represent AF Associates, and we are international food safety and quality management specialists. So basically helping all sectors of the feed and food industry throughout the food chain to develop their. We also offer auditing services to businesses for second-party internal audits, customer approvals, that type of thing, as well as the technical support I've already mentioned, and provide training, whether it's certificated or bespoke and tailored to specific businesses, as well as a range of food safety and nutrition courses via e-learning. But that's enough about us. So to today's webinar, I just want to do a little bit of a recap, first of all, about, well, why use root cause analysis and what it actually is, thinking about the benefits of doing it, and then just a very brief reminder of the steps that are involved in the root cause analysis process, and then finally coming on to think about trending and when we should be perhaps trending some of the data and some of the information that's coming out of the root cause and how it can be beneficial for us. And finally, if we've got time, time to take some questions at the end. So we thought we would put a poll up, and the first question really is, do you currently conduct root cause analysis? And if you do, what particular methods do you use to help you to conduct root cause analysis?
Okay, I've loaded the poll in the sidebar. We can see that over 90% do root cause analysis already.
Okay.
If you can type in the sidebar, as Ruth said, if you do use root cause analysis, what's your favourite? What do you find most useful? What do you use most? Okay, so we're seeing 5 Whys, Ishikawa, Fishbone, 5 Whys, lots of 5 Whys. Oh, exclusively Ishikawa 5 Whys. I've not seen anything else. Yeah.
Nobody using any of the others. I have to say, when you do conduct root cause analysis, there are many different methods and many different techniques that can be used, and it's really up to individuals and teams to decide the method that's going to work best for them. I think specifically, if you're working with some of the standards, the BRC standard, they recommend that we use 5 Whys, which is probably why we see it popping up quite a lot. So we're just going to briefly think about why we need to use root cause analysis. So if you'd like to move on to the next slide. Thank you. Well, some of the reasons why we're using it, we're saying it's going to protect the consumer from any potential food safety and quality issues. You may have had issues in the past, but at least if we can conduct root cause analysis and really get to the root of the problem, we should be able to prevent recurrences from happening. In that way, protecting the consumer. Also, to avoid the vast costs associated with food recalls, and if we have to conduct a withdrawal. So if we're using this preventative approach, that we should stop those costs being associated with our business. Of it though will tie up with your business reputation. I'm a big believer you never actually get there with a good reputation. I think you're continually having to work at it. To me, it's a little bit like spinning plates, and it's keeping them all in the air at the same time. But it can be very, very easy to lose a reputation. So root cause can be positive to help us with our reputation. Certainly we're going to in the long term save money, because we can focus resources in areas where we've had potential problems and prevent them from happening again, as well as it being a very proactive solution to incident management, because we're able to look at systems, we're able to focus, we're able to put resources where we need them, and really then trend it to ensure that it's all working. Okay. Root cause analysis, basically, just as a quick reminder, it is the analytical process that we go through, and it's all about identifying the underlying factors that are contributing to a failure or to a sort of incident, some sort of event. And it's very much going through this process and asking yourself, what did happen, how it happened, and why it happened. So it's a process of finding out a lot of information, and then really looking at that information and analysing it, and looking for the causes of the failures. Okay. So when might we get incidents, or when might we get problems? They can come as a result of lots of different things, and here are just some suggestions. It might be non-conformities that are being raised during audit, and that could be at any level of audit. It might be the internal audits raising non-conformity. It could be customer audits. It could be third party. Rather than something being raised at an audit, there could be internal incidents, so possibly equipment failure maybe, or some sort of processing environment, I don't know, a flood or a fire or something like that. Or it may be as a result of a customer complaint. But each of these would present us with a problem that we would then need to go away and investigate to try to determine what really was the root cause of that problem, and in that way put the preventative measures in place to try to prevent it from happening again. So really the goals of root cause analysis, it's all about prevention. But I say prevention and not punishment. Very often when we really do start to investigate, we will get down to things being systemic, and it's generally the system that's failing. And within a system, people are involved, but we shouldn't be blaming people. It's so the goal really is that we're not punishing people for problems happening and things going wrong. One of the other goals, though, of root cause is to help to build that culture of food safety within the organisation, because we are taking a proactive approach, and we are looking and trying to deal with issues as and when they come up. So a way of identifying not just the underlying root, but also the contributing causes. And when we come into to root cause analysis, we find it's generally a whole chain of causes all interlinking in together that have resulted in your problem. So one of the goals is also to identify what can be done to prevent the recurrence, as I've already mentioned. And also we need to think about how we're going to measure and how we're going to track our outcomes. So this is one of the things that I want to focus on a little bit later on. So I just want to quickly remind ourselves of some of the benefits of conducting root cause analysis. So if you'd like to move on again. What we're saying is it is going to ensure that all the products that we're producing safe, so they're not going to cause illness or injury, and that they're fit for purpose, so we've got the correct quality within the product, but also that we're meeting our legal requirements on an ongoing basis, because we're identifying up any areas where we've perhaps got issues. Another benefit could be that costly deficiencies and we're putting appropriate corrective or preventative action in place, so we shouldn't see the recurrence again. Root cause analysis, it's going to form part of your due diligence defence. Within due diligence, there's two elements to it, one being reasonable precautions, and reasonable precautions is having systems in place, so that's things like your food safety management system, your quality management system, the root cause analysis, and then the reasonable precautions is that you're working those systems on a day-to-day basis, and the proof of those working is through documentation and records. So evidence of root cause analysis being carried out, and the measures being put will help to form part of that due diligence defence. It also helps us to maintain compliance to standards and customer requirements. Many of the standards are requiring that we're conducting root cause analysis as a result of audit failures, as a result of customer complaints, and so it becomes a requirement within the standard, which if we're not doing, we'll start to raise non-conformity. And the final benefit that I've raised here is it'll help the future strategic planning of the organisation, and our continual improvement programs to actually be based on sound fact and evidence, rather than thinking about things and putting preventative measures in the incorrect places. So just very quickly, when we think about root cause analysis, we need a team to be conducting our root cause analysis studies, and in a similar way to other systems, we're saying we would need a multidisciplinary and multi-skilled team. I think you need to be flexible when you're looking at who is going to be on a root cause analysis team. It's going to be based around what the problem was, what the issue was, and then a case of thinking about who would be the best skilled team to actually investigate that problem. So it could be people coming from within the operations, so production and processing. It may be people from within engineering, looking at equipment and kit. It could be people within technical, so looking at food safety, food quality issues, or you may be bringing in specialists in certain areas, maybe around cleaning, maybe around some of the other areas where we just feel we need the people there. So we would need to have a root cause analysis team, and then the actual steps in the root cause analysis process. First of all, we would need to define our problem, or define our incident. So generally that's what's happened, and you need to be thinking about, well, what it was and when it happened and who was involved. So it's a case of thinking about the problem, and then we would begin to identify all the different possible causes as to why that problem actually happened. Once we've gathered all of that information, then we would go on to determine the root cause, and we can use a variety of different tools. I am pleased from the previous poll that we've just done, everybody was saying 5 whys and fishbone or Ishikawa. So I'm very pleased at the graphics that I've put on the bottom of this slide, because I too have used the 5 whys and the fishbone there. But it's all about, from the information that we've gathered, to using tools to determine the root cause. And then, of course, once we feel we've got to the root cause of the problem, it's thinking about the extra preventative actions that we need to put in place to prevent a recurrence of the problem. And finally, we would be reviewing once we put those preventative actions in place, and the whole cycle just keeps going around. So just an assumption that we have here. What we're saying is, well, actually what Doggett said was, beneath every problem is a cause for that problem. So whenever we raise a problem, there's always something behind it that's actually causing it to have happened. And when we begin to search for a solution, we generally start to work our way backwards along that chain of causes until we get down to the root cause. But another thing that we need to think about is, if the root cause of the problem isn't identified, and we're merely addressing the symptoms of the problem, then we won't solve that problem, and the problem will continue to exist. So if we move on to the slide, it's all about the cause and the effect. So if we think that we've got a problem and it's been identified, maybe through an incident or through an audit, we would talk about the effect. And the effect, that's, if you like, we're saying it's the symptoms that provide evidence of the problem. So it's what you're actually seeing that tells you that there's a problem. So it might be, I've got a flat tire. It might be a piece of machinery's broken. It might be a product and caused food poisoning. So the symptom is always what you would see that's telling you that there's a problem. But then the cause is always the event or the condition that actually led to that problem happening. So what was the cause of the flat tire, or what was the cause of the food poisoning outbreak? What was the cause of the machine breakdown? And so every effect always has a cause. And when we start to think about putting actions in place, sometimes we talk about adaptive action, and this is really the action that, if you put it in place, it would limit the effect of the initial problem. So some adaptive action with a flat tire would be to blow it back up again, or some adaptive action with broken machinery might be to fix it. But when we start to look at causes, we talk about corrective action, and the corrective action there would be to actually eliminate the cause of the. So you would have to start to ask, why did I get the flat tire, and begin to try to work out what actually was the root cause of that problem. Can we move on? Just a few errors that we get when we start to look for root causes. Often it's a team becomes very tunneled and focused and starts to try to look for one single cause, and generally it's far more than one cause, and it's often 2, 3, even more causes that are beginning to contribute to the incident or to the problem, and often they all start to interact with each other. One of the other problems is not drilling down far enough and ending our analysis at the symptomatic cause, so at the symptom rather than getting down to the root cause. Or another error that we have is then assigning the cause of the problem to the event that preceded the real cause. Yep, we can move on if you like. So we tend to look at levels of causes. So you've got your problem or the symptom, we sometimes refer to it as, and that's what you actually see. So that's your effect, as I mentioned before, things like the flat tire, and then generally we would talk about direct causes or sometimes physical causes, and these are the specific sort of physical items that if you corrected them or if you replaced, they would fix the initial problem. So the direct causes fix the symptom, and then we've got the underlying causes or the real system cause, and that's the underlying cause of the physical failure. So if you were thinking about a piece of machinery breaking down, the effect or the symptom is the machine breakdown. The physical cause could be the machinery hadn't been maintained properly. The system cause, when we start to get down to it, would be that the system wasn't picking up that piece of machinery needed maintenance. It maybe wasn't on the maintenance schedule, or it wasn't being picked up frequently enough. Okay. Do the next slide. We always talk about root cause analysis, and so I quite like the image of the plant, and we talk about the plant above ground that we can see being the actual symptom of the problem. So that's what you can see, and then the underlying causes are the root system underneath the ground. So that's what you can't see, and there we would see initially the direct causes and finally the root cause. But it's all about trying to trace a problem back to its origins. And if that plant didn't have that root system, we wouldn't have that plant. Okay.
Just 1 second, Ruth.
Yes.
People, attendees are saying that they can't see the slides, but I can. Let me just try and reshare them and see if that fixes it. So, okay, just carry on. I've done that.
Yeah.
I've stopped sharing and reshared, and let's see if that makes a difference.
Okay.
Okay.
So when we come to determine our root cause, it's all about collecting, or the root cause analysis team collecting our information and analysing all the facts and the data that we begin to gather. It's about then thinking, well, what could be the possible cause? So it's looking through at all the different scenarios that come up, and gradually what we would start to do when we begin to use our tools such as 5 Whys or the fishbone is to reduce down the number of different sort of scenarios that we've got, until we really drill down and think that we've got to the root cause. Okay.
Okay.
So generally, you'll know you've got to the root cause if you can't dig any deeper. Sometimes the team would agree, yes, we think we've got to the root cause. Usually, you get to a point where you think, yes, that does make sense. The chain of events makes sense, and it's something that you can actually influence. I often hear people saying, but how far do I go? How far do I go? And you really are going down as far as is practicable, and you are then able to put some changes in place to prevent that problem from happening again in the future. Okay. So talking about trending then, I've just briefly mentioned the root cause analysis and the actual process. But when should we be doing some trending of data? because this whole process is about gathering a lot of data. So initially you've had your incident, you've defined your problem, and you begin to gather data. So the first point where we may be beginning to trend some of that data is actually when you're identifying causes as a result of the data that you've been gathering. So it's thinking about all the different incident characteristics, and then we may also be trending data when we have determined the root cause and looking to see if we've got any trends building up in specific areas around it's been the same root causes, it's been the same problems coming up time and time again. And as a result of that, we would trend that data, we would analyze it, and then you can use that to help put in really relevant and really robust preventative actions. We generate a huge amount of data on a day-to-day basis within the food industry, and it's all there, and it can be used, and it can be really useful to help us to be proactive in our root cause analysis systems. Okay. So when we start to think about trending in root cause analysis, it's all about collecting the data from a range of different incidents and root causes. So we tend to, as a root cause analysis team, work on individual incidents and individual problems, whereas when we start to trend, it's perhaps taking a step back, and rather than looking at a specific individual incident, you can now look at a series of incidents over a time frame and look for patterns within incidents that are coming up. And it's really another way of looking to see if there are any systemic problems that are contributing to incidents, and if we're starting to see patterns in there. But really, it's all about looking at multiple incidents, and in that way, you should be able to promote risk reduction within the organisation. Okay. So we have another poll just now. At the moment, does anybody do any trending of their root cause analysis results? So maybe of initial incident investigations or of the root cause?
Okay, I've loaded that in the sidebar, and I would say two-thirds are saying no.
No.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so everybody's doing the root cause and completing it, and not really looking at any further at any data.
So that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Should we move on?
Yeah, we're on the next slide.
Oh, sorry. So if ever we're going to do anything, we need to see some benefits out of it. So the benefits of trending our data, some of the ones that we might see, we're saying, well, it's just being able to look at the overall effectiveness of your incident investigations, and looking to see, well, are we being successful in what we're doing, and do we really think that we're getting to the root cause of problems? Generally, if you've done a root cause analysis and you've put preventative actions in place, but you're still getting the same problems coming up time and time again, you haven't got down to the root cause of the problem. So looking at that data and looking at that information would tell you whether you're actually being successful. Other things that trending can do, it can start to identify up continual management deficiencies. So if we're seeing things coming up in the same areas, maybe misallocated management resources. So we're putting resource into the wrong areas. We're maybe spending a lot of money on retraining when in fact it's the actual procedure that's incorrect. It would also help you to flag up if there've been any sudden changes in business performance. So you may start to spot trends happening within the production or within processing, and it also is going to help you to highlight any investigation weaknesses. So really it's all about allowing analysis of any incidents that you've got, and to be able to make some worthwhile decisions around those. Okay. So when we start to trend, obviously you've got to collect data, and the data has to be available to be collected. And you really, at this point, you have to decide which data is going to be useful to identify and analyze incidents. It could be quite a difficult decision because there is a substantial amount of data that is going to be available, and it may be that you've got to predict a little bit at what data you think would be useful in identifying up those incidents. For example, it could be that you're looking at a processing premises, and you're working in quite an old processing premise, and what you might be starting to see are a lot of incidents with fabrication, with equipment, and so on. So perhaps it would be, in that instance, reasonable to start to collect data about the age of the equipment that's associated with each incident. Or alternatively, it could be something like staff and staff protective clothing, and you may be getting issues around a lot of people slipping, tripping, falling. So pertinent data to collect might be around the footwear that's been issued. So it's always an initial step to just think, what data are we're going to collect to help us with this trending. Okay. So when you do begin to define the data that you're going to collect, you first of all have to think of what sort of decisions you're going to make based on the data analysis that you're going to do, and you're going to then go on to identify the trends that is coming out of those decisions. So it's really determining what data you think is necessary to identify those trends, and go off and collect that data. You also need to think whether you are able to actually collect the data. So who's going to be assigned to collect the data? Will they have the time to be able to do it? Could anything else sort of impede the data collection? How is your data going to be stored as well? What storage systems? You may be having to think, who's going to analyze the data, and how are you going to analyze it in terms of putting it onto spreadsheets, that type of thing. Oh, my slides have disappeared.
Yeah, it's because there were comments saying that the slides have disappeared, so I reloaded them.
Oh, okay. Maybe you might be thinking about the frequency, how often we're going to be performing the data analysis, but very much it's a case of deciding what data you're going to collect, how you're going to do it, who's going to be doing it, when are they going to be doing it, and how often you're going to be doing it. Okay. When we do start to think about the data that we're going to collect to trend, though, I'm saying only collect the information that's needed. That's well, I suppose maybe trying to state the obvious, but some of the problems that we can get. If you're gathering too much data, you're going to have to start to think which of it is relevant, and you may be beginning to drop some items that don't appear to be useful. I'm saying use a standard form. It's always good to be prepared and to think about how you're going to gather the data, and use a standard form that contains all sort of appropriate fields so that you can gather all the information on that that form, and also providing guidelines for how the information is going to be collated up and how the forms are going to be filled out. Thinking as well about how, in terms of your data collection, how you're going to collect your data, and really we need to be using electronic databases, because when we start to trend spreadsheets, all the information can be graphed, it can be put into pie charts, it can be put into a variety of different information very quickly and very easily. So it's about your databases, because they really are the only practical way to track and analyze numerous incidents. It would be very difficult for one person to keep track of all the information necessary to perform a trending analysis if we didn't have information on a database. Another thing that we might think about, though, is to collect industry data as well as our own organisational data, because this may help us with some of the trending that we're going to do, and make sure that we analyse data on a regular basis. So just some of the things to think about when we're actually collecting our data. And then when we start to look at the trends, we really have to carefully about what we're uncovering and how we're going to interpret those trends. Lots and lots of different factors will influence the numbers, the types of incidents reported, and what's being put into our database. So some of the things that could be influencing the data that you're gathering, I'm saying there a prior history of reporting. So it could be being influenced by who is actually doing the reporting. So for instance, some production facilities could be a little bit more reluctant than others to report incidents, and so if you were trending data, it could appear from department to department or sister site to sister site that actually one premises is having less incidents than the other, when in truth that's not the case. It's just somebody isn't reporting. Equally, it may be that personnel leave and that new personnel start to report, and then the data skews the other way, and it appears that suddenly we're getting a lot more issues. Another one is the actions taken following incident reports. So often corrective actions following an incident usually reduce the number of reported incidents, but sometimes there could be a new focus on investigations which could increase the reporting rate. So we have to be careful when we think about that. The organisational culture, different businesses will look at things in different ways. So some organisations might report minor incidents or different types of incidents. So it's, again, if we're starting to look at our own information and compare it against industry standard information, we may see some gaps there. It also could be things around organisational and legal requirements or regulatory goals. It could be that if we're looking to meet a lot of regulatory requirements, then things are being reported in a lot more detail than perhaps if we weren't. Alternatively, the methods, the tools that we use to investigate, if we've got a good, robust, structured methodology, we would tend to see investigators probably identifying more causes. This could lead to further trends or more trends, and often if we've got good structured methods, we tend to see more effective solutions coming through, but as a result of that, it also often leads to higher reporting rates. communication as well. So when employees have better understanding of what to report, then the reporting rate tends to go up. As does changes in personnel. It may depend on the personnel in particular areas. Those often who have a greater interest in developing proactive solutions, we could find that they're more likely to report incidents, whereas personnel who are less concerned and possibly see the negative impact of reporting maybe are less likely to report. So that really need to be considered when we're interpreting trends within data, and remember that we always need to look beyond the surface, the direct causes of problems, to really determine our underlying causes and to ensure that we're seeing the root causes, but also looking for trends within the root causes themselves. Okay. Just to summarise, we're saying that data trending is really designed to detect broad trends across multiple investigations. So not just within one root cause analysis study, but looking at many studies that are going on within the organisation, because incidents are often focused on individually. But when you start to do trending on all the data that you're generating, then you really can look at underlying causes that you're seeing coming through in a variety of incidents. And then, of course, we can put measures in place to prevent reoccurrences or prevent potential new issues. But it's another additional activity that we can include as part of our root cause analysis, and it just is going to give us some form of confidence that what we're using and what we're doing in terms of root cause analysis is being effective, and that we are able to really see what's going on within our organisation. So the last poll. As a result of what we've been talking about today, do you think you would do any trending, or do you think you would make any other changes to your root cause analysis?
90-odd% saying yes, Ruth. So that's
good. Oh, good.
So that's well worth it.
Yes.
Okay.
I suppose there's always a cost benefit to this, and the initial thing is managing to trend the right data. So it's deciding what's the best data to use to help us to sort of look at what's going on, and then it, as I say, it's how you're actually recording it, and it can take a long time for somebody to sit and graph out something that's been manually written, whereas things that are in spreadsheets, and you can ask Excel to give you a graph or to give you a table, and it's all instant. And graphically, it's always much better because it's there and you can see it. Yeah,
but the poll settled down at 93% to 7%, which is good. Okay. And,
great.
Right. So that's the final.
Okay. Slide. Yes. I know we've overrun over 4 o'clock, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Right. Well, I'm going to stop sharing the slide, which it's quite difficult because I'm trying to monitor the chat in the sidebar whilst presenting the slides, which is almost impossible because you click from one screen to the other, and I think I lost the slides a few times there, so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I think the most important thing is that we managed to get through today. We had some technical problems. We were late starting, and then we had to do it in a ad hoc way. But I do hope you got some benefit from Ruth's presentation. As I say, we'll be issuing the slides afterwards with the recording, and hopefully when you've got both of those together, it'll come together, and you'll be able to re-look at that and get a lot of takeaway messages and things that you can do. So if you have got any questions, if you put them in the sidebar, and then I can pose them to Ruth. Let's have a look. Well, Nicole's asking Ruth, what is the ideal trend in frequency for a new startup business?
I mean, you've got to really start to look at how many incidents that you're getting, because we're talking about trending as part of your root cause analysis. So it's from your incidents, but with most things you tend to do it on a risk-based approach. So looking at a risk assessment, you may begin by looking perhaps at quarterly, at 6 monthly, and looking that way. You really need to gather enough data for it to be beneficial.
Yeah. Okay. Theophilus is saying RCA can be applied in all departments in the organisation: quality assurance, occupational health and safety, sales. Problems exist everywhere, and to solve them you need root cause analysis. That's right. It's not just related to food safety and quality, is it?
No. It's any problem. Yes.
And very much health person, occupational health safety. Some people are asking about software for trending, but do you find Excel sufficient in most cases?
Yes, I would use Excel. I mean, I don't wish to do any advertising, but yes, that's sort of the spreadsheet package that I would generally use.
Yeah,
and if you're familiar with others, but just so long as you can get something that will give you graphs and tables and that type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there are in standards now, like GFSI standards, BRC, etc. There is a lot of demands. Almost every section, every clause demands root cause analysis. You know, sometimes it's how far do you go, and with a lot of, obviously, a lot of actions arise in companies because we do audits. We have our own internal audits, we have customer audits, third-party audits, pest control, customer complaints, internal defects, you name it. Actions are coming in from all over the place. Well, problems, let's say, recurring problems. And it's about, I suppose, prioritizing them and I suppose ranking them. Do you sort of, or have you used any ranking tools, sort of in a HACCP way, like the severity of this problem, you know, and then being able to rank and prioritize them?
Yes, I have, and I've seen that being used because, excuse me, when you start to do root cause analysis, I think you've got to look at incidents, and you have got to risk assess them a little bit, or you have got to rank them. To do this properly, it is quite time consuming, and you know, we can end up with an awful lot of issues and incidents going on. So sometimes you see things ranked into, well, these are food safety issues, these are quality issues, these are maybe I don't know, sort of issues perhaps, or that type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. One of the members, I can't quite remember because it scrolled past, was saying it would have been good to have like an example, you know, an actual example of let's say 5 whys, you know, you know, just to show how you dig deeper. You know, like, for example, I suppose a lot of time companies that don't do root cause analysis it's, well, human error. The person, this silly person didn't do what they was supposed to, or something like that.
It's the classic line that it was the person. So, you know, I gave him a talking to and a bit of training and he won't do it again. But actually it's the fact that they weren't adequately trained, they weren't supervised, they weren't being appraised, and you know, generally you get down to there's a system failure there.
Yeah, the procedure wasn't right, etc. I mean, I think it was Deming, I've said this before, Deming said there are no human failures, just system failures,
Yes.
and management failures as well. So Aliu is saying, should the RCA team be a standing one or set up after each specific problem?
I suppose we've got a real world and we've got an ideal world. In an ideal world, you would actually allocate a root cause analysis team to each individual problem, because depending on what the problem is, there will be different expertise needed to help to solve that problem. But I suspect what may happen is you've got a, for want of a better word, a core root cause analysis team, and then maybe sort of co-opting people into that as you perhaps need them.
Okay, I think we've pretty much exhausted the questions. What I have done is for the attendees, I've loaded in the sidebar. I think, was it in February we did the 4-hour assessing
yes,
threats?
It was. Yes.
Yeah, assessing threats and vulnerabilities of food defence to meet the requirements of GFSI. So Ruth and myself, well, I basically moderated it, but Ruth did the training course, 4 hours. So that's available as a on-demand training webinar, and you get slides, certificate, some templates as well, some document templates, something. So yeah, if anybody's interested in that, can you give just a brief overview of that? What the content was in that course, Ruth?
Yes, it was really looking at how you defend yourself from the either fraud or malicious attack. So it was looking at the process of going through a TASUP system, so threat assessment and critical control point. So we are very familiar with HACCP, and HACCP is always there to control against unintentional contamination within the food products. Whereas if we sort of hop over onto the other side and we start to talk about food defense, this is where we're trying to defend ourselves from intentional contamination of our products. And the intentional contamination side, it's always people motivated. So it could be malicious contamination for harm, or alternatively it could be fraudulent issues that are going on. So really in the webinar we introduced up the different types of threats that we could get, so from extortion and espionage through to some of the different ways people defraud foods. We thought about who it is that would attack us, and then the whole TASUP process, really, in a similar way to HACCP, it's a risk assessment. So we went through the process of how you would complete the risk assessment, how you would document it all. We gave out templates and worked up a system. So you ended up with a template, really, of a system that it's gone right the way through from start to finish. Once you've done your risk assessment, then of course you've got to think about any additional preventative measures that you need to put in place. So we just briefly touched on those as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's, if you click that in the sidebar, find out more, that'll open a new window and you can have a look at that. We'll also include the link in the follow-up email. So if you're interested in that, it was a really good 4-hour half-day online webinar. Okay. So I think that's it. If there are any further questions, we can follow up again. Amanda, we'll send you the food defence info in the follow-up email. So just like to say, thanks for struggling through. I know it's really off-putting, isn't it? You know, you're trying to concentrate and relax, and with the gremlins, it's really difficult. But thanks very much, Ruth, for struggling on there. We managed to make it through. And we'll be seeing you. You're presenting at Food Safety Live. That's correct, isn't it?
I am.
Are you presenting? Yeah, that's on the 14th of September. So We'll see you then, Ruth. So thanks very much on behalf of the IFSQM, myself and all the attendees today. Thanks, Ruth.
Okay, goodbye everybody. Have a good weekend.
Okay, ladies and gents, I've loaded your certificate in the sidebar, so you can download that now. I'll follow up with an email with the presentation slides, the webinar recording, the certificate, and the other links that we've mentioned today, such as Food Safety Live, the free registration for that, the TASUP course that we've just talked about, that'll be in the email. And also we've got the Wear Your Hairnet competition running. You've got 2 weeks to get a picture of yourself submitted for that competition. Jumping out of a plane, deep sea diving, on the top of the Empire State Building, whatever, wearing a hairnet in a weird and wonderful way, and you've got a chance of winning $1,000. And the winners will be announced at Food Safety Live on the 14th of September. So it's free entry. So why not just get a hairnet on and do something outrageous, but within the law, obviously. Right. Okay, thanks very much for your attendance today. We'll be back in 2 weeks for the next Food Safety Fridays, and that's with Vladimir Suchinsky, assessing suppliers through routine and non-routine audits. Have a nice weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, share, comment, and do what you do on YouTube. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.